Okay, so I'm about to use a perspective to explain solution-focused brief therapy that's going to sound strange. And that perspective I'm going to use is the importance of using solution-focused brief therapy to argue with your clients. Now, that might sound really weird that like Elliot is a proponent of arguing with your clients, but give me a second to explain and I bet it's gonna make sense. Now, first of all, the good news about arguing is you all know how to do it. Like, I've been watching on social media all throughout 2020, and I've watched you guys have arguments about political issues, election issues, the things going on in social justice. Like, people get dragged into these crazy arguments all the time, and arguing is something that we do really well. Well, a solution-focused conversation in a lot of ways is like a loving, caring, subtle, respectful argument. So an argument is basically when someone gives an idea, like my favorite football team is the Detroit Lions, my favorite soccer team is Arsenal, right? And someone hears that, like I have a really good friend named Luke, and his favorite, I'll say football, because in America we call it soccer, in Europe they call it football. His favorite football team is Liverpool. So if I said to him, Arsenal is the best football team ever, Luke would argue with the intention of changing my mind so that I would start believing Liverpool is the best football team ever, right? That's the way that arguments work. Like somebody gives an idea and you say, I think that idea is wrong, and then you give information to help them develop a new idea that in your opinion is better. Luke would totally say, Elliot should not think Arsenal is the best football team. He should totally think Liverpool is the best football team. And Luke would try to convince me that that's true. Well, let me explain to you in the context of solution-focused brief therapy, why that matters and why arguing is a really important skill. But again, arguing with care, with love, with respect, subtly. And here's how it works. So oftentimes your clients come into your office and they have a belief about themselves that is actually contributing to the presence of the problem. So like, I believe I'm a failure, right? So of course, I need my client to no longer believe that. But I also know if I just try to convince them that it's true, if they say, gosh, I'm such a loser, I'm such a failure, I've been depressed my whole life and I'm always gonna be depressed. If I say, no, you're not, you are awesome, you are wonderful, and you are going to be wonderful, people have a tendency not to believe that. People have a tendency to like, in the same way arguments work, right? So someone says, I'm horrible, I'm not happy, I'm never gonna be happy. If I say, yes, you can be happy, you're a wonderful person, what we tend to do is dig deeper into our argument and try to convince the therapist why I actually will not be happy. I cannot be happy. I'm unhappy and I'm depressed and I'm sad and all those things. So what do we do to help people shift is we ask them questions where their own answers changes their perspective. So you might be thinking, how do you do that? So a client says, gosh, I've been depressed my whole life. I'm always gonna be depressed. I'm never not gonna be depressed. When a client says that sort of stuff to me, I'm immediately thinking, how can I ask questions so the client can answer in a way that shifts their perspective? And I say things like, when in your life did the depression kind of subside just for a moment? And the reason I would ask a question like that is so the client can hear themselves say, you know what? I had a pretty good year when I was 12. Like, and I'll just use myself as an example. I realized when I was 12 that I was pretty good at baseball. I made the all-star team and I moved to a different neighborhood, and my very best friend lived across the street, or who became my very best friend lived across the street. And so 12 years, that was a pretty good year. And then I can ask questions like, so suppose tomorrow, like the 12-year-old version of you, like I just made a video about the importance of the word version, so check that out. But I can say, suppose you woke up tomorrow and the 12-year-old version of you becomes who you are today. What would you notice? And every answer the client gives runs counter to this belief that I'm always gonna be depressed and I can't be happy. So I want you guys to think about that. Like, part of your questions should be tailored to help the client produce answers that counter the description of them as being totally connected to the problem. That's the magic of solution-focused brief therapy, and why I want you guys to understand this concept of arguing with your clients. Now, obviously, I don't mean arguing in the sense that we did in 2020, where we're calling people names and stupid and unfriending and blocking and all that, but when someone says something that is connected to the problem, like I'm depressed and I'm always going to be depressed, we have to think of ways that we can ask questions that the client will start saying. As they answer the questions, they will start saying things that run counter to that belief. That's the magic of this approach, and that's how this approach works, to shift people's mindset. Because once you shift their mindset, you shift the way they live.